Welcome back for part two. Different background, different topic, but same idea of giving ball players what they need to adjust to this time in your recruiting process. So today we'll address what you can do over the next few months to continue to stay on top of your recruiting, even during this new NCAA dead period, including topics we'll cover will be coach communication, building your list of target college programs, updating your video, and then academic and softball specific prep that you can take over the coming months as well. First and most important bullet here, and one which is well beyond my pay grade and for which we look to other experts for guidance like the CDC, stay healthy. Top priority during this time is to stay healthy and protect yourself. So do all the things that you're hearing about, wash your hands a lot, practice social distancing, etc., to protect yourself and those around you. Now, to what is much more our area of expertise, what you can do as a student athlete to advance your recruiting right now. The key phrases that frame up the bulk of these takeaways are effective communication and being proactive. With the disruption around coronavirus, there's canceled spring sports seasons, remote classroom learning for a lot of schools, caps on events and gatherings. It can be very tempting and really easy to fall into a waiting period. It feels like this is a pause on your normal day-to-day life because it is an interruption, but it's critical that you don't just put your recruiting on pause during this time and you continue to move forward with it. There's still a lot that you can and should be doing right now to keep making strides and to stay ahead of your recruiting process, starting with list building out your list of your college programs. So school research and building your target list is a crucial early step as you set your sights in your recruiting process. And right now is a great time to do some research and start to build out that list of target schools and softball programs that you're considering as a holistic fit at the next level. Now, when we talk about building a school list, a natural first place where we see a lot of student athletes start is by naming schools, right? Listing the names of schools, school list of schools. But we actually advise that you start one step further up the ladder or one step further back and begin with the individual qualities that you are looking for in a school as an individual student athlete. Focusing on the names of schools tends to draw student athletes that we've worked with at least towards labels, whether it's Division I, Ivy League, etc., rather than towards the schools that can prove to be the best overall and holistic fit for them at the next level. The college selection and recruiting process has been driven by this kind of thinking for years, built around powerfully branded labels. Especially in athletics, I think there's a tendency for student athletes to think of groups of schools by the division, league, or conference that they're in. You know, Division I, ACC, SEC, Ivy League, etc. And grouping them like this, I think, downplays the spread of these schools and the huge variety that they offer geographically, academically, and in the holistic college experience that they provide for student athletes too. So, for example, saying that you like Ivy League schools says that what you are saying in that is that you're saying that you are equally considering a small rural school with about 4,000 students on the border between New Hampshire and Vermont, like Dartmouth, a half public university of 15,000 undergrads in upstate New York, Cornell, and mid-sized schools of about 6,000 undergrads in the heart of Manhattan and Cambridge, Mass., Columbia and Harvard, respectively. Huge variety, all fall under this umbrella or this label of Ivy League, very different experiences. The name of the conference or the name on the plaque at the front of campus doesn't impact your experience in college like the qualities of that school do. The size, the location, the academic focus, if it's in versus outside of a city, etc. So we encourage prospective student athletes to start building a list of qualities that they're looking for in a college, and then use this as a filter for specific schools. Have a list of qualities, match it back to schools that fit these qualities with an open mind. So use this time during the dead period to think critically about what the qualities are that would best set you up for success in your college experience. And then with an open mind, search for schools that fit this overall profile. Next up is building out your online profile and effective digital contact and communication with college coaches. Even though it's an NCAA dead period, as we discussed in part one yesterday, coaches are still able to correspond with student athletes. And it's crucial during this time that you do so. So once you've outlined in broad strokes some of the best fit schools for you, you can start on proactive communication with these coaching staff specifically. Step one, update your online profile. If you don't have one, make one. You can head over to Sports Recruits, our tech partner in the recruiting side for Honor Roll, and you can create a free profile so that you can host all of your information in one place to make your communication with college coaches more efficient and more streamlined, all centralized, one place, one-stop shopping. You'll input your contact info. You can upload your transcript, test scores. You can upload video that you have of yourself, so that it all live right there in one place for coaches to use. When you have your profile built out, you can start sending some emails to the programs and coaching staffs on your list. Since they're used to being in season and very busy during this time of year, during a typical year, coaches are going to have time on their hands for the types of communication and office work that during a typical season just wouldn't be at the top of their list and would not get prioritized while they're busy with their day-to-day of running their program. Use this openness to your advantage when possible by filling out the recruiting questionnaires and starting some email communication with them. So if you head to the softball website for your target programs, most of them will have some kind of recruiting form or questionnaire for prospective student athletes. Fill this out so that your information makes its way into their system for later communications about their prospect camp, recruiting events, etc. And it's easier to stay in touch and on top of what's going on with their program once you're in their funnel, so to speak. Once you've done that, send some emails to some of those schools that you're interested in. A few tips and best practices for these emails. 1, create a dedicated recruiting inbox to house all of this communication in one place and have the email address be appropriate, include your name as much as possible. While that old account that you've been using since 6th grade, Red Sox Rule 6789 at yahoo.com works for personal use. For this, stick to something like, in my case, Max McKenna 2022 for your username, so it's clear that you're identifying yourself. It's not kind of going off the rails with that username. Also in this vein, this can and should be an account that you as a student athlete are in charge of, and all these emails come from you. That's a point that we can't emphasize enough. Student athletes should be writing these emails, but parents can help support here by gaining shared access to this account. In 2020, adults are very used to and well trained to check email on a regular basis, but some kids aren't in that habit yet. So having access to this account can really help parents support their ball players in their coach communication and make sure that nothing falls through the cracks on the communication front. Step 2 for these emails, really, really important, personalize. Include the right coach's name. The emails that start out, "Dear Coach, comma," have a much better chance of finding their way immediately into the trash or junk folder in inbox. So include their name, make sure it's the right name, make sure the email address matches the coach's name, etc. Do some research on the school and program and include some unique and personalized points about the school in your email outreach. For example, if you think that Babson's focus on entrepreneurship is what makes the school the perfect fit for you, say that, and show that you've done some research on the school and on that academic program as well. A key part of these emails is demonstrating genuine interest to these college coaches at your target schools. And to me, demonstrating interest through these emails is crucial and comes down to 2 key points: research and curiosity. With your note to coaches, show that you've researched and educated yourself about what you can find directly and easily on the school's website, but also that you're curious about some of the stuff that you can't simply find online. For example, if you're interested in Middlebury's foreign language major and you've researched the coursework necessary to complete that major, but in that email, indicate that, but also ask Coach Bevere, "Hey Coach, are there any unique challenges for majoring in a foreign language while I'm playing softball at Middlebury, given that it requires studying abroad?" for example. So demonstrating this balance of, I've researched what I can find and I'm curious about the stuff and how it relates to my specific circumstance. Use this to demonstrate genuine interest in the schools that you're targeting. 3, consolidate your information for efficiency. This is where that online sports recruits profile can really pay off. So rather than sending a coach an email with 4 different attachments with your transcripts and test scores and 2 different YouTube links to your video work, etc., use an online landing page to consolidate all of your information in one place. Then you can include some basic information in the email, you can personalize it, but then just link directly to that most up-to-date information on your profile. You can include your transcript on that profile, contact info, video, travel coach information, all of it centralized and in one place. So coaches just have to go to a single place instead of referencing these different documents that you might send them. Also, for you as a student athlete, you need to go back and update all these different attachments or, videos, etc. It's all in one place. Just go there, make sure that everything's up to date. Easier for you and easier for coaches. Really important point 4, proofread. Please, please proofread these emails. You're going to be sending personalized emails to at least a handful of the schools that you're interested in. Make sure that you're sending the right email to the right coach. This seems pretty basic, but we hear it every year from coaches that they get emails addressed to the wrong coach or about the wrong program, about the wrong school. As I said, student athletes should be writing these emails themselves, but parents can really be hugely helpful on the proofreading side by being a second set of eyes for spelling, grammar, and making sure that the right emails are going to the right coaches. Dear Coach Carroll is going to, Todd Carroll, Coach Carroll's at MIT, is going to his email address. Great, that's a really good start. Editing is really important, but keep in mind that coaches are going to be able to pretty quickly tell the difference between an email written by a 16-year-old prospective student athlete and one written by a practicing lawyer. So mom and dad, be careful with the editing versus the writing and rewriting of these emails. Next up is getting into kind of the softball specific focus is updating your video. Even if your high school season is canceled, this can still be a great time to capture updated video for your online profile, all while still following the proper precautions for public health and safety. On the blog post version of this, we're including a cheat sheet for what to include in a student athlete video if you're looking for a starting point. So please take a look if you have questions about what to include and also how to tailor your video. For example, if you're a speed demon, there are ways that you can personalize and tailor what's on your video to highlight speed as your unique tool. Same if you're a monster power hitter, your video might look a little bit different than somebody who's really fast. So a key part of this is using this video to highlight yourself as a player. While most of the video can be pretty formulaic, you also can use parts of it to highlight your play specifically and what makes you stand out as an individual player. Classroom and academics have to keep, for the next few months, have to keep your foot on the gas here. With a lot of schools moving to remote learning, high schools and colleges, I'm sure that student athletes are tempted to view this as an extended spring break, given the time of the year that we're in. But as you are still going to get grades this spring, and they're still going to matter on the transcript that you submit to admissions offices. So it's really important that you go hard through the bag, whether that's in person in the classroom or via remote learning and this other paradigm that is moving more and more for a lot of schools. And for offices, quite frankly, as well. I mean, I know that adults who are suddenly working remotely nationwide have issues with suddenly working remotely and are struggling to adapt, myself included at times. And student athletes are going to face some of the same struggles and challenges. So I would advocate for setting up a routine for yourself to follow, whether you're in the classroom or working from home. That can help you establish good remote learning habits, which is going to be really important to set yourself up for success. Also, because so many companies right now are moving to telework whenever possible, there are some new and great resources on how to manage this new paradigm effectively. And even though these are written specifically for working professionals and adults, they can be useful for students as well to adapt some of the lessons to their coursework. We've included a short list of some of these articles and resources at the bottom of the blog post version of this video. So feel free to head over there and check it out if you're struggling with this. We know that recent rounds of standardized testing have also been canceled. So if your test was canceled or delayed or postponed, reschedule your SAT or ACT date if it was canceled and use the extra time that you have to prepare. It's proven that access to studying and test prep resources help you when the actual test comes around. So use this time and these resources to your advantage. Our friends, and full disclosure, a former honor roll alumni parent who started this company over at Compass Test Prep, are a great starting resource for those looking for this test prep support. And they offer both in-person and also remote tutoring. So feel free to start there if you're looking for something in that vein. Next up, softball specific, game prep and development. Even though your season may be canceled or postponed, this is not the time to take a few weeks or months off from softball. You should use this time to work on your game, work on your strength and physical development, work on the fundamentals, keep going to your private lessons if it's safe and advisable. If you're a hitter, focus on your tee and soft toss work. And if you safely have access to an open hitting tunnel, do some front toss and BP. Get to an available field to take some fungos. If you don't have access to a field or need to better self-isolate for health reasons, find a wall and a tennis ball to work backhand technique, or refine your outfield footwork in your living room. Just kind of keep going and try to keep with the softball practice that you have so that you can continue to develop your fundamentals so that you're ready when the opportunity arises. The tough part about this time is that you will not have the same opportunity for competition that you usually would have during this period. So you have to kind of replace this and continue to develop some of this competition for yourself by challenging yourself in this drill work and by trying to make your reps as game-like as possible, which is very difficult. College programs, high school programs, travel programs around the country try to make drill work game-like, and it's a constant challenge for coaches. But if you can gamify your reps to add pressure, do it. When you're doing front toss, don't just work for the showcase reps where you're, pummeling the back of the tunnel with ball after ball hit to dead center out of the park. Have your partner spin some unexpected simulated off-speed pitches and use that to kind of work in and stay in the rhythm of some of your game-like practices when it comes to developing your softball. If you're still watching, thank you for sticking with it. I know this was a longer video than part one. Remember, the key words for student athletes right now are communication and proactivity. We want to make sure that you have the tools and information that you need to continue to advance your recruiting. And a key piece of that is making sure that you're continuing to make strides. It's not standing still. It's keeping your feet moving on the recruiting front so that you come out of this ahead of where you started. On part 3, we're going to discuss some of the potential recruiting impacts of NCAA decisions regarding eligibility and what they can mean for you as a high school prospective student athlete in your college selection and recruiting process. As always, if you have any questions about today's tips and tactics or about what's coming up later in the week, please feel free to reach out to us directly via email at showcase@headfirst.com, or you can reach us by phone at 202-715-6654. Thank you. Looking forward to part 3.